That's on the front page of the Times as well. Emma, you know, you've got lots to say about this. We had Jonathan Gullis in. He said to me in the final answer to the question I asked him that if they don't change this bill, he will vote against it or abstain again tomorrow. So they're not out of the woods yet here.
They're not. They're not out of the woods. I think tomorrow's going to be absolutely crucial. We were talking to Jonathan as well, and he was saying, you know, they're going to be talking pretty much all night, through the night, really redefining their position, working out, you know, real wargaming going on. You know, what's best if they win, if they lose, can they still claim a moral authority? What will be best for their constituents when it comes to the election?
Yes.
There are so many other issues. And just to reiterate, this is very much about the Conservative Party, the war going on in the Conservative Party, isn't it?
It really is. And it's, again, they're doing this to themselves. I mean, Prime Minister's questions tomorrow, as you said, Ryan, another open door for Keir Starmer to kick a great big ball through.
Which he will.
Well, he might not. He will fail to do, yeah. I mean, he doesn't always do it, does he?
It's interesting to see whether he actually talks about migration tomorrow, because Rishi Sunak can, you know, I know it's Prime Minister's questions. Rishi Sunak quite likes to turn it into, you know, opposition leader questions, but it's actually, you know, Rishi Sunak to answer them. Rishi Sunak will point the finger at him and say, well, what's your plan?
Yeah.
And, you know, he's scrambled.
But he can't keep coming up with that, though, can he? Because, I mean, he keeps saying, we've got a plan, and you haven't. And everyone's going, well, yeah, but have you? Have you really? Because even your own people can't agree on what the plan is.
Literally, yesterday, Rishi Sunak was saying, let's stick with the plan. It's working.
Right.
What?
I know.
What plan for this country is
working?
But
this is why I go back to my Wizard of Oz, you know, sort of comparison, because it is like watching somebody who's completely deluded, who thinks that he's doing something, but nobody else thinks that he's doing something. Yeah. He's the only one.
And I think the trouble with this, he's got so many different factions within the party wanting him to do so many different things, when he is caught in the middle. And not only that, Rwanda, you know, is the arbiter of our, you know, our policy on this in some respects, will only let him go so far. So if he pushes the boundary so far, Rwanda will say the deal is off. And that is the last thing that
they are not happy. Their reputation, which, OK, most of us wouldn't have thought was great.
It's great,
they feel that they've been dragged through the mud on this. Their international reputation
Can you imagine
been utterly
a place
besmirched.
where people were chopping each other's arms off is now actually being embarrassed by being associated with Rishi Sunak in Great Britain?
And it is Wizard of Ozland, Mike. You would have thought that poll that came out on Sunday, and I know it was commissioned by the right wing of the party, but it was carried out by YouGov.
There's 14,000 people. It's a lot of people.
You would have thought. The result, the detail is devastating. All of the red wall gains under 2019, in 2019, completely wiped out. All of the cabinet, or lots of cabinet, big beasts, wiped out the next election. You would have thought that would shake Rishi Sunak out of his complacency. Come Monday morning, we're back to magical thinking and Wizard of Ozland.
It is. Again, you get to the point, you're trying to appease one wing of the party, and then you've lost 50 or 60 other MPs on the other side, so he's really stuck.
He was skewered in December, and we knew this was going to come up again in January, and here we are.
The trouble is, if he doesn't get a flight off the ground before the election or within the next few months, you know, he's skewered as well.
Right.
Do you really think one flight would make any difference? I think symbolically,
it shows something.
He could say it's working.
In practice, possibly.
Well, I mean, it's now gone from we've reduced the boats coming by 20% to, I think, people now saying, oh, we've got, I think it's James Cleverly now saying, oh, we've got it down by a third. It suddenly jumped to the 13%. So they've now convinced themselves that they've suddenly reduced the numbers coming. Well, it's in the middle of one of the coldest periods, and people have just died in the Channel. So I imagine that's probably slowed things down a little bit.
I think they went 30-odd days, a long time over Christmas and the New Year without any boats going. But I think when you're a government, you're 20-odd points behind in the polls. You are looking to hang on to any type of good news and for them, and this is it.
Absolutely right. Now, I wanted to show you this picture that was put out by the Cabinet today. I don't know if we've got it. It was put out by... Well, that's Rishi Sunak as the Wizard of Oz. That's a slightly different picture, but that's fine. You can show us that one because you put some work into that. But there's another picture I wanted to show you, which is this one, which is the Cabinet picture that was put out. I asked for several kind of caption contest-type answers for it. And it's quite interesting, body language-wise, because you've got David Cameron sitting there, he's holding his glasses, looking up at Rishi Sunak, who, if you looked at that picture and didn't know who was who, you would think that Cameron was running it, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
I think some people are trying to peddle this line about Cameron sort of being in charge. You know, fundamentally, it's Rishi Sunak
being groomed for stardom.
Yeah, Rishi Sunak.
Do you not buy that?
Not really. I think that David Cameron, you know, is pretty respectful of the situation he's in. I think Rishi Sunak has probably done him a great turn, bringing him back into government. But I think people are trying to put David Cameron as being in charge of our, he's foreign secretary, but being the ultimate, having the ultimate say on our foreign policy, when that's not really the case.
Well, one of the things that she said, which I thought was interesting, was that at the weekend, Laura Kuenssberg had Starmer and David Cameron on together. Starmer was the one sort of making the ground for what's going on in the Red Sea. So, I mean, he's quite...
Cameron, yeah.
Sorry, Cameron, yeah. He's been given quite a bit of responsibility over and above what you might say the Prime Minister would otherwise do.
I think so, but I think in fairness to Downing Street, Rishi Sunak was on the shows the previous week, and you've had obviously the big episode Thursday, Friday in the Red Sea. The person you are going to put up in front of the Sunday TV shows is your Foreign Secretary. So I think that is logical.
Yeah, but when you compare their performances, like for like, David Cameron now feels like the grown-up in the room. David Cameron has authority now. I mean, lots of us used to sort of laugh at David Cameron, think he was a total disaster and sold our country up the river and all of that stuff. But now it's weird. I feel the same way about Theresa May. I sometimes think, oh, look at Theresa May. She's in control. Yeah. While the rest of them they seem so inept.
Yes.
I think David Cameron now feels like a very authoritative elder statesman.
And I think for Rishi Sunak, it's almost like a pleasure or a joy having someone with that experience in cabinet in that senior position, because Rishi Sunak can spend a hell of a lot more time in his domestic policy without looking up in his phone who he's going to phone today, Emmanuel Macron or whatever, because David Cameron's already got them on speed dial.
It does take it a little bit, but I mean, it is a very crucial time for foreign policy, of course. I'm just looking down through some of the suggested captions, and I found one finally that I can read out, which isn't too rude. Dave Owen says, "I suggest a referendum," which I think is maybe what David Cameron would say.